Sir, this isn't a playground for old folks. The voice was sharp, carrying the kind of confidence that came from surviving Hell Week. Instructor Petty Officer First Class Derek Kane stood at the base of the obstacle course, arms crossed, blocking the path like a human barricade. His BDU pants were still damp from the morning's surf torture, and his tan boots were caked with sand from the Coronado beach. Behind him, the infamous Naval Special Warfare Center sprawled under the San Diego sun, crucible where dreams died and legends were forged. Before him stood an old man, maybe 75, maybe older. His frame was lean, but stooped, shoulders rounded by decades of gravity. He wore simple khaki cargo pants and a faded gray navy t-shirt that had seen better days, probably bought from a surplus store. His hair was silver white, cropped short in a style that might have been military once, but now just looked old. His face was a roadmap of wrinkles, deep canyons around pale blue eyes that seemed to be looking at something far beyond the obstacle course. His name was William Bill Harker, and he didn't flinch. Derek took a step closer, his shadow falling over the old man. "Did you hear me, sir? This is an active training zone. Bud.S. candidates only. You need to go back to the visitor center." Bill stood perfectly still. His hands hung loosely at his sides, withered and scarred. He didn't move to leave. He didn't argue. He simply stood there with that distant look in his eyes, as if Derek's words were background noise to a much louder memory. That silence irritated Derek more than any argument would have. He was used to instant obedience. When an instructor spoke at Bud.S., candidates jumped. This old man's calm defiance felt like disrespect. "Hey, Chief." Derek called over his shoulder to Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb, who was supervising a log carry 50 yards away. "We got a situation here." Webb jogged over, his muscular frame moving with the easy efficiency of a man who'd spent 20 years in naval special warfare. He was in his early 40s, with a shaved head, a thick beard, and cold gray eyes that had seen things most people couldn't imagine. 3 combat deployments, the Silver Stars, a chest full of ribbons he never wore off base. He looked at Bill, then at Derek. "What's the problem?" "This gentleman won't leave the training area," Derek said, his tone professional but annoyed. "I've asked him twice." Webb turned his attention to Bill. His gaze was assessing, the way a predator sizes up prey. "Sir, I'm Chief Webb, instructor staff. This is a restricted area during training hours. Public observation is available at the platform behind Building 7, if you need directions." "I know where it is," Bill said quietly. His voice was dry, unused. "I was just looking." "Well, you can look from over there." Webb's tone was firm but not unkind. He dealt with plenty of confused veterans and star-struck civilians. "This course is live. We've got candidates running drills. Safety protocols require." "I wanted to try it," Bill interrupted. The words hung in the air. Derek blinked. "Excuse me, the course, I wanted to try it." For a moment, both instructors just stared. Then Derek let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Sir, you're kidding, right?" Bill didn't smile. "No, sir. Derek shook his head, glancing at Webb as if to say, "Can you believe this guy? This isn't a civilian fitness course. This is the Naval Special Warfare course. It's designed to break men half your age who are in peak physical condition. No offense, but you look like you should be at a doctor's appointment, not." "I've done it before," Bill said. That stopped Derek cold. Webb's eyes narrowed. "You've done it before," Derek repeated slowly, skepticism dripping from every word. "When? In what decade?" "Long time ago." "How long?" Bill thought for a moment. 53 years. Derek couldn't help it, he laughed. It wasn't cruel, just reflexive. The absurdity of it. This frail old man claiming he'd run the Bud.S. course in 1971. "Okay, Gramps," Derek said, his patience evaporating. "I don't know what fantasy you're living in, but this conversation is over. You need to leave. Now." Bill's expression didn't change. He just looked at Derek with those calm, tired eyes, and then he reached into his pocket. Derek's hand instinctively moved toward his belt muscle memory from combat deployments. But Bill pulled out something small, a piece of metal. He held it in his palm, facing down, so they couldn't see it yet. "What's that?" Webb asked, his voice cautious. Bill turned his hand over. Lying in his withered palm was a pin. Tarnished, dull gold, the metal oxidized and aged. But the design was unmistakable to anyone who'd earned the right to wear one. An eagle with spread wings, clutching a trident, an anchor, and a flintlock pistol. The Navy SEAL Trident. But this one was old. The design was slightly different, simpler, more angular. This wasn't the modern trident worn by current SEALs. This was the original underwater demolition team badge from the Vietnam era. Derek's smirk vanished. Webb's entire body went rigid. "Where did you get that?" Derek demanded, his voice suddenly hard. "Earned it," Bill said simply. 1971. UDT-11. Underwater Demolition Team, before they called it SEAL Team. "That's impossible," Derek said, but his voice had lost its certainty. "That badge ... that's a museum piece. You probably bought it at a pawn shop or..." "Petty officer," Webb cut him off, his voice low and sharp. "Shut up." Derek turned to his chief, confused, but Webb wasn't looking at him. He was staring at the badge in Bill's hand with an expression that bordered on reverence. "Sir," Webb said carefully, "what was your unit designation?" "UDT-11. Detachment Alpha, Mekong River Operations. 1970 to 72. Webb's jaw tightened. "And your swim buddy?" "Daniel Rourke. He didn't make it home." The words were simple, but they carried a weight that made the air feel heavier. Webb took a step back. His hand moved to his forehead in an unconscious gesture of respect. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. "What?" Derek demanded. "Chief, what's going on?" Webb looked at him. "That badge is real." The UDT teams were the predecessors to the SEALs. They were frogmen. They cleared beach obstacles in World War II, Korea, Vietnam. They did underwater demolition, recon, sabotage missions. And in Vietnam, they did some of the most dangerous river operations in the war. No air support, no backup. Just small teams going deep into enemy territory. He turned back to Bill. "Sir, with all due respect, if you were really in UDT-11... I need to verify this." Bill nodded slowly. "How?" "Your service number. Name. I have access to classified personnel databases. If you're listed in the Naval Special Warfare historical records." "I'm not," Bill said. "What do you mean you're not?" "Detachment Alpha. We didn't exist on paper. Black operations. Deep insertion teams. If we got captured, the Navy would deny we were ever there." Webb felt a cold knot form in his stomach. He'd heard about this. Ghost units. Plausible deniability ops. Men who'd fought and died without official recognition. "Then how do I verify you?" Webb asked. Bill thought for a moment. "Call Captain James Tolliver. He's retired. Lives in Virginia Beach. He was our platoon commander." Tolliver ... double quotes. Webb's mind raced. He'd heard that name. Wait. Admiral Tolliver. Former Naval Special Warfare Center. That's him. Derek's face had gone pale. Naval Special Warfare Center, Naval Special Warfare Command. The man who ran the entire SEAL community. If this old man was telling the truth. Webb pulled out his cell phone. "I'm making a call. Both of you stay right here." He walked 20 yards away, turned his back, and dialed a number he had to look up. A retired admiral wasn't exactly in his regular contacts, but the SEAL community was tight. He had connections. The phone rang 4 times. Then a gruff voice answered. "Tolliver. Sir, this is Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb, Bud. S. Instructor Staff at Coronado." I apologize for the unsolicited call, but I have a situation that requires immediate verification. Go ahead. Sir, I have an elderly gentleman here claiming he served in UDT-11, Detachment Alpha, Mekong River Ops, 1970 to 72. He says you were his platoon commander. His name is William Harker. There was a long silence on the line. Then, Bill Harker? Yes, sir. Put him on. The phone? Now. Webb turned and walked back. Bill was still standing in the same spot, hands at his sides, patient as stone. Webb handed him the phone. Admiral wants to talk to you. Sir. Bill took the phone. Hello, Bill. Is that really you? For the first time, Bill's expression changed. A flicker of emotion crossed his face. Hey, Jim. My God, where the hell have you been? We've been trying to find you for years. Your file was sealed. No forwarding address. It's like you vanished. I didn't want to be found. Bill. The Admiral's voice was thick with emotion. You saved my life. You saved 12 men's lives in that river. We put you in for the Navy Cross. They denied it because the op was classified. But we never forgot. I never forgot. Bill closed his eyes. It was a long time ago. Put the chief back on. Bill handed the phone back to Webb. The Admiral's voice was now hard, authoritative. Chief Webb, listen very carefully. That man standing in front of you is a living legend. He's one of the original frogmen. He did things in Vietnam that will never be declassified. He earned that Trident 53 years ago, and he earned it in blood. Whatever he wants, you give it to him. Whatever respect you show to active duty SEALs, you triple it for him. Is that understood? Yes, sir, and Chief. I'm making a call to your commanding officer right now. Things are about to change very quickly at your location. Stand by. The line went dead. Webb lowered the phone slowly. He looked at Bill with new eyes. This wasn't just an old man. This was history. Living, breathing history. Sir, Webb said, his voice completely different now, respectful, almost reverent. I apologize. I didn't know. Derek was still standing there, pale and confused. Chief, what's happening? What's happening? Webb said, never taking his eyes off Bill, is that we just disrespected one of the men who built this community. 10 minutes later, the entire training evolution ground to a halt. SEAL candidates stood at attention, confused. Instructors whispered into radios, and racing toward the obstacle course from the command building was a convoy of vehicles to black Suburbans and a white Navy staff car with flags mounted on the hood. Derek's stomach dropped. Chief. Is that the CO? That's the CO, Webb confirmed grimly. And judging by the second vehicle, probably the Commodore too. Commodore. Derek's voice cracked. The Commodore was the commanding officer of the entire Naval Special Warfare Center, a Navy captain who oversaw all SEAL training. He rarely left his office except for major ceremonies. The vehicles skidded to a stop in a cloud of dust. Doors flew open. Out stepped Captain Richard Stanenthal, lean, mid-50s, with silver hair and a chest full of ribbons. His uniform was immaculate, his face was granite. Behind him emerged an even more imposing figure, Commodore James Reeves, a Navy captain with 30 years in the teams, 3 combat deployments, and a reputation for being absolutely unforgiving of disrespect toward veterans. Webb and Derek immediately snapped to attention. Officer on deck. The nearby SEAL candidates froze, then scrambled into formation. Captain Stanton walked directly toward Bill Harker. He didn't even glance at the instructors. His eyes were locked on the old man standing calmly at the base of the obstacle course. When he reached Bill, he stopped, drew himself up to full height, and rendered a crisp, perfect salute. Mr. Harker, he said, his voice carrying across the training ground. It is an honor. Sir. Bill, after a moment's hesitation, returned the salute. His old hand trembled slightly, but the motion was flawless. Muscle memory from 50 years ago. Commodore Reeves stepped forward. Mr. Harker, I'm Commodore Reeves. I apologize on behalf of this command for any disrespect you've experienced. If I'd known you were here, I would have personally escorted you. It's fine, Bill said. Quietly, I didn't announce myself. That doesn't matter. Sir, you earned the right to be here. Reeves turned to face the assembled candidates and instructors. His voice boomed across the compound, attention on deck. I want every man here to understand what's happening right now. You're in the presence of a warrior who paved the way for everything we do. He gestured to Bill. This is William Harker. In 1971, he was a frogman in underwater Demolition Team 11, the precursor to the modern SEAL teams. He operated in the Mekong Delta during some of the most dangerous phases of the Vietnam War. His unit conducted clandestine river infiltrations, underwater demolitions, and direct action missions against heavily fortified enemy positions. The candidates were silent, eyes wide. In March of 1972, his 8-man team was compromised during a river recon operation. They were ambushed by NVA forces over 100 enemy soldiers. His team commander was killed in the first 30 seconds. Mr. Harker took command. For 6 hours, he held off enemy forces while coordinating extraction for his wounded teammates. He personally carried 3 wounded men through 2 kilometers of swamp while under continuous fire. Commodore Reeves paused, letting the weight of the words sink in. When the extraction helicopter finally arrived, Mr. Harker refused to board until every single member of his team was loaded. He was the last man out. He had 17 gunshot wounds. 17, he was pronounced clinically dead twice on the flight to the field hospital. Derek felt like the ground had disappeared beneath him. He'd mocked this man, called him Gramps. The Navy put him in for the Medal of Honor. The Commodore continued. It was downgraded to a classified commendation because the operation officially never happened. Mr. Harker received no public recognition, no ceremony. He was medically retired in 1973, and his records were sealed. He turned back to Bill. Sir, you came here today, wanting to run the O course. Is that still your wish? Bill looked at the obstacle course, the cargo nets, the rope climbs, the walls, ghosts of his past. I just wanted to see if I still could. Then you'll do it, Reeves said firmly. And you'll do it with full honors. Chief Webb? Yes, sir. Clear the course. Mr. Harker runs alone. Every candidate and instructor will line the course as an honor guard. Is that understood? Yes, sir. Derek stood frozen, shame burning through him. This was really happening. They were about to watch a 74-year-old man attempt one of the most physically demanding obstacle courses in the military. A man he dismissed as a confused old fool. The Bud's obstacle course fell silent. 80 SEAL candidates and 20 instructors lined both sides of the course, standing at attention. The California sun beat down on the sand and wood structures that had broken countless young men. Bill Harker stood at the starting line. He looked smaller than ever, dwarfed by the towering obstacles. His gray t-shirt hung loose. His cargo pants were simple civilian wear. He wore no gloves, no tactical gear. Just an old man about to attempt something that destroyed men a third his age. Captain Stanton stood beside him. Sir, you don't have to do this. Nobody expects. I know, Bill said, but I want to. Do you want a safety officer shadowing you? Medical on standby. No, Commodore Reeves nodded. Then the course is yours, sir. Bill took a breath, closed his eyes, and suddenly, he wasn't 74 anymore. He was 22, standing on this same beach, wearing the same determined expression. The faces around him weren't strangers, they were his brothers. Rourke, Jenkins, Martinez, all of them gone now. He opened his eyes and ran. The first obstacle was a series of parallel bars, monkey bars, that required upper body strength to traverse. Bill reached up, grabbed the first bar. His arms shook. His shoulders screamed. He was 74 years old. His body was failing, but he moved, hand over hand, slow, methodical. His technique was flawless weight distribution, momentum conservation, minimal wasted motion. This was how they taught it in 1970, before modern sports science. Before optimization, just raw, brutal efficiency. He reached the end, dropped down. The candidates watched in stunned silence. Next was the cargo net, 60 feet of rope mesh that had to be climbed, gone over, and descended on the other side. Bill approached it, grabbed the rope, started climbing. His hands were bleeding now, old skin tearing on rough hemp. His breath came in ragged gasps. Every muscle in his body was on fire, but he climbed. The cargo net had been his favorite obstacle in 1971. He'd been young, fast, unstoppable. Now every foot felt like a mile. Halfway up, he paused, clinging to the net, his whole body trembling. Derek, standing at the base, wanted to call it? Wanted to stop this before the old man had a heart attack. But Chief Webb put a hand on his shoulder. Let him finish. Bill summoned something from deep inside, some reserve of will that had nothing to do with physical strength. He climbed, reached the top, went over, and descended. When his feet hit the sand on the other side, the candidates erupted in applause. Bill didn't hear them. He was already moving to the next obstacle. Rope climb, 30 feet of thick hemp. Pure grip strength and technique. He grabbed the rope, wrapped his legs, started pulling. This was where his age showed. Most brutally, his arms, once capable of endless pull-ups, now shook with every pull. His grip, weakened by arthritis, kept slipping. He fell twice, caught himself, tried again. On the third attempt, he made it 10 feet. Then 15, then 20. His vision was blurring. His heart pounded in his ears. Every breath was agony, but he kept climbing. At the top, he touched the wooden platform and descended. The candidates weren't just applauding anymore. Some were crying. Derek was crying, because they all understood now. This wasn't about physical prowess. This was about something else entirely. This was a man proving to himself that even though 50 years had passed, even though his body had betrayed him, even though his brothers were gone, he was still a frogman. Bill completed 8 of the 15 obstacles before his body finally gave out. He collapsed at the base of the wall climb, his legs giving out, his vision tunneling. Medical rushed in, but before they reached him, Chief Webb was there, kneeling beside him. "Sir, you did enough." "More than enough." Bill looked up at him, chest heaving. "Did I make it?" "You made it, sir. You made it." They took Bill to the medical facility. Dehydration, muscle strain, minor lacerations. Nothing serious, but they kept him for observation anyway. Derek asked to see him. He found Bill in a private room, sitting on the edge of the hospital bed, staring out the window at the ocean. The old man looked exhausted but peaceful. "Mr. Harker," Derek said from the doorway. Bill turned. "Come in." Derek entered, holding his cover in his hands, twisting it nervously. "Sir, I came to apologize. What I said to you, how I treated you, there's no excuse. I was disrespectful, I was arrogant, and I'm sorry." Bill looked at him for a long moment, then smiled a small, tired smile. "You were doing your job, protecting the course, maintaining standards. That's what instructors do. But I mocked you. I called you. I know what you called me." Bill's voice was gentle. "And you know what? You were right. I am old. I am past my prime. I had no business attempting that course at my age. Then why did you?" Bill looked back out the window. "Because I needed to know. Needed to know if there was anything left of that young man I used to be. If the years had taken everything, or if some small piece remained. And did you find your answer?" Bill nodded slowly. "Yeah, I did." Derek swallowed hard. "Sir, if you'll accept it, I'd like to buy you dinner. Let you tell me your stories? I want to learn from you." Bill looked at him, surprised. Then his smile widened. "I'd like that. The Naval Special Warfare Center unveiled a new addition to the Heritage Museum. In a glass case, carefully lit and preserved, was a tarnished UDT badge from 1971. Beside it, a plaque, William Bill Harker, UDT 1 Detachment Alpha Vietnam 1970–1972. The frogman who came before, and beneath that, a quote, "The obstacle is not the course. The obstacle is the voice that tells you that you can't." Bill attended the ceremony. He stood quietly in the back, uncomfortable with the attention. But when the candidates filed past the exhibit, many stopped to salute. And Derek Kane, now a second-class petty officer, stood beside him. "Sir, you changed this place," Derek said. "Every instructor now teaches a class on UDT history. Every candidate learns your story. I didn't do anything special?" "Yes, you did. You reminded us that the Trident isn't just a pin, it's a promise, and that promise doesn't expire just because time passes." Bill looked at the young man beside him. "You know what I learned that day on the course?" "What's that, sir?" "That I'm not that young man anymore, and that's okay. Because what made me a frogman wasn't my physical strength, it was the refusal to quit, and that ... that I still have." Derek nodded. "Hoo-ya, sir, hoo-ya."